The first thing that broke through the sheer, pants-shitting terror was the silence. 1 minute, the sea serpent was a symphony of screaming metal and howling wind. The next, I was coughing up salt water on a beach so quiet I could hear the sand shifting under my cheek. My charter boat was gone, swallowed by a freak squall that came out of nowhere. I was alone. Well, not alone. The island was a postcard of hell. Jagged black rocks, twisted, leafless trees, and a humidity that felt like breathing through a wet sock. And it was moving. Not the whole island, but the ground itself seemed to writhe. I pushed myself up, my hands sinking into the sand, and that's when I saw it. A sinuous, scaled body, thick as my wrist, slid out from under a nearby rock and disappeared into a crevice. My blood went cold. A full-body shudder, the kind that starts in your soul and rattles your teeth, ripped through me. Ophidiophobia. It's not just a fear of snakes, it's a primal, gut-level revulsion. The way they move, a liquid muscle with a brain. It's just wrong. I had to get off this beach. I scrambled inland, my heart hammering a drum solo against my ribs. Every shadow was a coiled strike. Every rustle of the weird, purple foliage was a rattler's warning. This was some next-level bad mojo. The first few hours were a blur of pure, unadulterated panic. I found a small clearing and climbed the tallest tree I could, a gnarled monstrosity that felt like bone under my hands. From my perch, I saw the true scope of my nightmare. The forest floor wasn't dirt and leaves. It was a carpet of scales. Dozens, no, hundreds of them. Vipers with horns, constrictors with patterns that hypnotized, little green ones that dripped from branches. This wasn't an island. It was a nest. That's when I got my first real break, or so I thought. Tucked against a cliff face was a structure. Not some native hut, but a goddamn log cabin. Smoke curled from a crude stone chimney. Hope, a dangerous and stupid emotion, flared in my chest. Another survivor. I practically fell out of the tree and ran, ignoring the slithering sounds that seemed to come from everywhere. I burst through the wooden door without knocking. Hello, is anyone? The scene inside froze me solid. A man, maybe in his 60s, with a wild gray beard, sat at a rough-hewn table. He was calmly skinning a 6-foot snake with a bone-handled knife. The air was thick with the smell of wood smoke and cooked meat. New arrival, he said, not looking up. His voice was like gravel. Name's Eli. Took you long enough to find me. The snakes, I stammered, pointing a trembling finger back at the door. This whole place is crawling with them. We have to get out of here. Eli finally looked at me, and his eyes were the flat, dead black of a shark's. Out. Son, there is no out. The reefs around this island will tear any boat to splinters. The radio in my plane, he gestured with his chin to a corner where a stack of rusted electronics Saturday jammed, has been for years. My hope shattered, replaced by a colder, deeper dread. Years? How have you survived? They're everywhere. A slow, unnerving smile spread across Eli's face. He held up a piece of the pink, skinned meat. You adapt. They're not the enemy. They're the livestock. The only food on this rock. He took a bite, chewing thoughtfully. You get used to the taste. My stomach rolled. The idea was monstrous. But as the days bled into one another, I realized he was right. Hunger is a powerful motivator. Under Eli's cold, pragmatic tutelage, I learned to spot their nests, to set simple snares, to distinguish the mildly venomous from the touch it and your heart explodes variety. The fear was still there, a constant, icy hum in the background, but I was managing it. I was surviving. The real twist, the one that made my blood curdle, came a month in. I was setting a snare near the cliffside when I found a cave hidden behind a curtain of vines. Inside, it wasn't a cave at all. It was a lab, a proper 1970s-era laboratory, complete with rusted microscopes, yellowed notebooks, and a row of empty glass terrariums. On a metal desk, under a paperweight that was a fossilized snake skull, was a logbook. Project Gorgon, the cover read. Objective: develop a revolutionary biological deterrent through accelerated ophidian pheromone extraction and replication. I flipped through the brittle pages. It was a military project. They were trying to create a scent so terrifying to the human psyche that it could scatter armies. They used snakes, millions of them, as the source material. But something went wrong. The pheromone, it mutated. It didn't just repel, it attracted. It drew every snake for 1,000 miles. The island was the epicenter. The lab had been abandoned, the scientists presumably devoured. My eyes fell on the last entry, scrawled in a frantic hand. The head of security, Elias Vance, has gone mad. He says the island has chosen him. He's releasing the remaining stock. He says he's becoming their king. Elias Vance. Eli. I stumbled out of the lab, the truth hitting me like a physical blow. He wasn't a survivor. He was the cause. He'd been here, not for years, but for decades, living as a deranged god in his own personal kingdom of serpents. I ran back to the cabin, a furious, betrayed scream building in my throat. I threw the door open. Vance, I yelled. He was standing in the middle of the room, shirtless. And that's when I saw the final, final, soul-destroying twist. His skin, from the waist up, was covered in an intricate, shimmering pattern of scars. Not scars, grafts. Overlapping patches of snake skin fused to his flesh in a horrific, living mosaic. As I watched, paralyzed with a horror so complete it was silent, a small, green head emerged from a collar of skin around his neck, its tongue flicking the air. Eli turned his dead eyes on me, and the snakes outside began to stir, their collective hiss rising into a single, deafening command. "I told you, son," he whispered, his voice now a dry rustle. "You adapt.